Hi, I'm Thomas Miller. I'm the Findhorn editor, and I am doing a series of interviews with people ahead of our 2018 conference here at Findhorn called Co-Creative Spirituality. It's all about exploring the world's non-physical dimensions, and I'm very happy to be talking to Jude Currivan today. She's a cosmologist, a futurist, an author, and previously one of the most senior business women in the UK. She holds advanced degrees in archaeology and physics and specialized in cosmology and quantum physics. She'll also be coming to Findhorn on 13 October 2018 to do a TEDx talk with Lynn McTaggart. And after that, she is doing a co-facilitating workshop here at Findhorn. The last thing I want to say about her before we begin is that she has a new book called The Cosmic Hologram, Information at the Center of Creation. And that is going to inform our discussion today. So my first question for you, Jude, welcome.
Thanks, Thomas. Hi, everybody.
Hey, is how did you become interested in studying the connections between information and physical reality, or the non-physical side of life?
Information almost came at the end of that exploration. I mean, the exploration really started over 60 years ago when I was 4 years old. And I had my first multi-dimensional experience when a discarnate light came into my room and, as they do, began to talk to me. So, of course, I answered back, and as a 4-year-old, it was the most natural thing in the world. And that started really a lifelong journey of discovery and exploration, because it's all exploration, into the nature of reality. And I experienced reality as multidimensional, literally a cosmic hologram. From that first age. I wouldn't have called it that, of course. But nonetheless, now I realize that the modern, the latest language of science is describing it in the same way, or beginning to describe it in the same way. And of course, it's a very ancient way of experiencing realities. But, 3,000 years or so ago, in India, it was called something like Indra's net, and described as multifaceted jewels of reality linked by golden threads. It's the same thing. It's all the way through, is this complete, ultimately unified understanding of reality that is diversified, it is differentiated, it is played out on many multidimensional levels, but nonetheless is ultimately reality is ultimately unified. The issue has been, I think, for a very long time, is what is the bridge? What is the bridge between the perspective of consciousness and the appearance of the physical world? And of course, there's always been the question, how does mind somehow arise from, immaterial mind from material matter? And science has, tended to say, well, mind is separate from matter and is immaterial, where matter is clearly material. But now science is catching up with universal spiritual experiences to realize that mind is matter, matter is mind. Consciousness isn't what we have, it's something we in the whole world are. And ultimately, reality is unified. Its appearance of separation is just that. It's an appearance, it's an illusion per se. Reality is real, but separation isn't. But it's always been difficult with science to say, now what is that? Because quantum physics doesn't go far enough. And it's only been in the advent of computers and the understanding of information, and realizing that information is as real as anything we call reality, and actually expends heat and work to be stored and to be deleted and to be processed. And so there's a convergence of realization that actually information, the same digitized bits of information, it's allowing us to have this conversation and then share it with everyone, is the fundamental makeup, fundamental stuff of reality, expressed as energy and matter.
Is information, as you're describing it, is it the same as my thoughts, my feelings, my conscious experience, the things that I'm experiencing, in my head?
When it is manifested, yes. I mean, we can say that we have a thought. Okay, you have a thought, I'm hungry now. You feel that thought, that thought, your stomach rumbles, But it's when our thoughts and our emotions are manifested in the collective, the collective reality of the world, that they are expressed as energy and matter. They are expressed as space-time. Our universe, the entirety of our universe, exists and evolves as a unified entity, literally an evolving thought form in the infinite mind of the cosmos. So yes, and that's why when we talk about, you know, mind, our thoughts can actually affect our physical bodies. They do, because our physical bodies are just expressions of those emotions and those thoughts, and at a denser level perhaps, but nonetheless it's the same stuff. Consciousness articulates itself as information, and information expresses itself in complementary ways as energy and matter and space-time. Literally, our universe emerges as an expression of consciousness.
So in a lot of Western mystery traditions, they talk about the creative power of thought. If you focus on something, if you think deeply about it in thorough ways, if you feel strongly about it, you're actually going to manifest it. Is that in line with what you're saying?
It's certainly in line with it. I don't think it's a big enough picture of it, because I think if you follow that perspective, you know, you can come to a view that everything that is reality is my thoughts. Yeah. And I think that's a little bit over the top. You know, I describe ourselves as microcosmic co-creators of our universe soul's reality. So that's what the hologram really does. It scales up and scales down. So if we consider ourselves as microcosmic co-creators of reality, but not the whole creator of reality, you know, you, I know, communicate, and I communicate with many, many different levels of multidimensional realities and archetypal entities and intelligences. Findhorn, wonderful communication with the devic and elemental realms. So there are many, many, many realms of awareness and consciousness that make up what, you know, I refer to as our universe souls existence. So, but yes, as microcosmic co-creators within that entity and within that evolutionary process, yes, our thoughts, our emotions very much co-create our realities to some extent.
And that's what you mean, I think, by the title of your book. We are these little creators within bigger spheres, which are also creators within bigger spheres. That's the hologram.
That's the hologram. That's the cosmic hologram.
Nice. Okay. So here's a little thought experiment. Let's say your book, The Cosmic Hologram, becomes wildly popular and everyone around the world reads it and really takes it in and understands that idea we were just talking about. How would the world look different if everyone was taking seriously this, these findings that you're talking about?
Well, my sense is our experience of the world and our perception of reality will be transformed, because we're in a situation where, for a lot of folks around the world, science has said that, you know, the world is just materialistic, it's just separated. I'm separated from you, we're separated from others. And that this realm is the only realm there is, that consciousness is an evolutionary accident, and there's no real meaning to existence. I mean, that's at its basic, that's at its most nihilistic, but that's pretty much been what mainstream science has been telling us. Now, for many of us who've been following the spiritual path, we know in our gut, we know through our direct experiences that that's not the way the world really is. But a lot of people are unwilling even to open that door to that possibility of that journey, that inner and outer journey of discovery into wholeness. I call it going a journey from loneliness to aloneness to all oneness, where we're still me, we're still our unique me-ness, but we understand that the me is part of an amazing diversity of we-ness that is ultimately whole. But for a lot of people, they listen to what science has said and said, no, I'm not going to open that portal, I'm not even going to think about it. But that illusion of separation has meant that we've separated ourselves from each other and from the earth, from Gaia. That duality-based perception of the way the world is experienced, because those thought forms, those worldviews, that fragmented perspective drives our behaviors. So our behaviors are driven from separation. Conflicts with inequalities, with all the dis-ease of our species at the moment. But science has been wrong. And that's why I feel it's so important that science is actually now the leading edge of science, not just in physics, but as you know in the book, across all fields of research and all scales of existence, is realizing that information is more fundamental, that our universe emerges from deeper realms of informational patterning and intention. And so science is finally catching up and reconciling with universal spiritual experiences to reveal that the underlying unity that is the true nature of reality, and then diversify. So if you're coming from a perspective of separation, even if you're really feeling and you know the need to try and come together more and more, you're still coming from separation to aspire to unity. What this is revealing is the underlying unity that we can then celebrate our diversity and empower and value our uniqueness as well, and me and we. And I feel that that can transform the way we behave, because our beliefs drive our behaviors. Our beliefs co-create our realities. But these aren't just beliefs, this is the deepest experiential and evidential reconciliation of this, what I'm calling the whole world view. That's why I feel it can matter.
For someone watching, what would be something that you could tell them that would help them experience the underlying unity? They're probably doing things already, but what would you point to?
I sense they are. I don't know about anybody else, but when I'm forgetting unity, I feel smaller somehow. I feel more alone and lonely somehow. I find that I make a choice not from love, but from fear. I shrink. When I feel unity, whether it's being in nature, whether it's cuddling a family member or a loved one, whether it's singing and dancing around the kitchen, both very badly, I know, I experience that connection. And that's without all the multidimensional carryings on that I've done all my life. It's very simple. It's in my everyday life. I can feel that unity. And when I do breathe out, I expand. I can sense it. I feel joyous. I feel happy. You know, it's when I forget that I start to feel fearful. So I would say to everybody, just without going crazy about it, just see how you feel. And if you feel joyous, I would say you're feeling unity in whatever way it means to you. If you're feeling happy, joyous, peaceful, you're feeling unity. If you're feeling loving, you're feeling unity. If you're feeling angry and frustrated and you're just forgetting, that's all it is. So just take a deep breath and remember.
One thing that we will be exploring in our September conference is the consciousness of plants, the consciousness of animals, and we have practitioners and we have practices, and at Findhorn especially, we have a tradition of actually contacting these, of working with them, not just having, you know, contacts, but actually working with them, co-creating. That's what the conference is about. Do your findings say anything about that, about how not only we, but also plants, animals, even inanimate, quote unquote, objects have consciousness?
Very much so. I mean, what the book is talking about is the unified nature of reality, where everything is consciousness. Different levels of awareness, of course, different perceptions, of course, but nonetheless, all within the ultimate oneness, the infinite, eternal, cosmic mind, as Einstein called it, of which our universe and cosmological discoveries are more and more showing this, and I write about it in the book. Our universe exists and evolves as a finite thought form within the mind of God, within the mind of the cosmos, and on multidimensional levels. So everything is essentially informed and holographically manifest. So, you know, communicating with other realms is of course natural. communicating with, you know, on a what we call supernormal phenomena, such as telepathy and a precognitive ability, and you know, all the sort of supernormal attributes are not supernatural, and they're not paranormal. They're supernormal. They're extraordinary, but they're an extraordinary aspect of our ordinary awareness. We just open ourselves to them, as you at Findhorn have done, and many indigenous peoples do, and I have done all my life. So they're a natural and for me vital part of who I am and how I experience reality.
And have you had contact with the initial being that approached you when you were 4 years old? I'm very curious. You know,
Well,
you know what that was?
Yes, I do, and he's been with me all my life, but you know what has been wonderful is opening that door and exploring. I've had so many experiences and connections and working with and attuning with and to. You know, I've written a few books but you know what I've shared is the tip of the iceberg of what's happening, but they've all literally informed my understanding, as well as experiencing and embodying these multidimensional realities within the larger wholeness of all that is.
Great. My last question is, and you've touched on this very eloquently, it's not acceptable, it's not viewed currently as kind of something you can talk about openly, to speak about consciousness, to speak about what you've been speaking about, right? Especially, I imagine, in the scientific community, this is considered kind of taboo. If you say things like this, you're considered a kook, right? What do you think?
Well, so what? The thing is, if I'm sharing this, and I'm not trying to convince anybody, by the way.
Sure.
I don't do this to convince. This is an invite for exploration. That's all
Sure.
it is. But I do share what I've come to understand and work very hard, you know, over 60 odd years, you know, intellectually, experientially, in the heart, all of it, to try and integrate this understanding and share it for the benefit of humanity and for the benefit of Gaia, because humanity has been so blinkered in our duality-based perspective, which is, as I say, science, and the book's full of the scientific evidence showing this, that separation is a myth, that reality is unity, is unified and then diversified.
Sure.
But to share that, and I don't know that I can share it without being completely open about that myself. It's almost as though the words will be doing something, but the energy and the intention and the information behind the words would not be authentic, because I wouldn't be sharing my understanding coming from all that I've done and all that I've researched and all that I've experienced. So, you know, if people say I'm idiot or I'm mad, or that's their prerogative. I can't be responsible for what other people think or say. I can only be responsible for my own integrity.
Sure. And my question is how do we, on a bigger scale, I'm thinking, you know, societies, I'm thinking public discourse, what do you think it would take to move us beyond that sense of separation and that sense of materialism? What would it take to move us beyond materialism into the unity consciousness that you're describing?
I think there's a number of things. I think, first of all, that whatever message, whatever sharing of this understanding is about, one really important aspect of it is we don't lose ourselves. You know, I know from the conversations and the work that I've been doing since the book came out with many people around the world, is that we've lived with separation so long, it sort of defines our sense of self. And the danger that somehow moving into unity awareness means that we become a homogeneous grey gloop where we lose ourselves and into that. And that's completely the opposite. We actually find ourselves. We actually discover ourselves as microcosmic, unique microcosmic co-creators, and are empowered then to come together to hold hands in this unity awareness and the excitement and the inspiration and the transformative potential that offers. So I think that's very important. that this is a new vision that is authentic and empowering and inspiring. So that's one thing. The other thing is I think the world is ready for this, because we're living in such an appearance of turmoil, such an extreme playing out of the old paradigm of separation, that my sense is, and you know, scientifically, when a complex system has got to the point that ours is, it either breaks down or it breaks through. And it breaks through if there's a possibility of that to a higher level of coherence. And I feel this understanding and vision of unified reality, this whole worldview, can offer that vision to invite folks to hold hands and be part of this transformational shift. That's, I feel, what's happening. That's what I feel is the deeper tide beneath the froth of the turbulence of what's happening on the surface. And there's something called flickering. And when systems are in that potential possibility and that potential breakdown or breakthrough, they tend to flicker between. And that's what I feel is happening, but the flickering is getting stronger in my sense. And I'm so excited about this year, because I really hope, trust, all of it, but feel it, that there is a real strengthening of that flame of potential, a possibility of homecoming to this understanding and experiencing and embodying the unity awareness.
Is there anything you would like to tell people who might be watching this video, anything that they can do to bring this more into their lives?
We're sort of coming up with this, idea of think cosmic, feel global, act local. So, you know, the more that folks are feeling this within themselves, and what I said earlier about just noticing the difference between love and fear, and to the love. And it's not to subdue or ignore or whatever with the fear. It's just to give it a hug and just to say, you know, that's fine and I appreciate you, and let's, you know, take a new route on this. But then to do that, so realize that this message of unified reality and, you know, the cosmic hologram is reconciling science with spirituality. Experience that, so not just the understanding of thinking cosmic, but nurture. Guys, nurture yourselves and feel that wonderful intelligence and love of Gaia and all her children on all the dimensional levels. And then act locally, whatever it is that inspires you, whatever it is that calls you. You know, it may seem very small, but given that everything is not just interconnected, but profoundly emerging from this unified reality, diversified. Every little diversified drop has its place. Every little diversified note has its place. You know, something you do locally, very, very locally, has ripples far beyond anything any of us has a sense of. So that's what I suggest and invite folks to do.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jude.
Thanks, Thomas, and thanks everyone who's listening. And, you know, guys can be in touch with me through my website, which is judecurrivan.com, or can email me, judecurrivan@gmail.com. And obviously would love folks to be in touch, and let's hold hands and go forward together.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.